Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. On the phone, we've got Commissioner Jason Corley. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Oh, doing good, Matt. How's your morning going?
It's going real well. I would guess that there was a little bit of news in the Commissioner's Court yesterday. Tell us what you think about that.
That's what I understand. Bill's not going to run again.
Have you guys smoked the peace pipe over everything?
Oh, we office next to each other. We get along fine.
Nobody's making dirty looks at one another?
No.
Well, I thought, I said earlier, I thought, Bill, like any politician, I think after you've been in office for a while, you start to think about, have I done everything I've wanted to do? And, and once you kind of reach that thought, you decide it's time to go to do something else. What, from your perspective, of course, last week on the budget and the tax, there was, as everybody knows, there was kind of a stop and start nature to it. Have you all kind of moved past that now? I heard Commissioner C say at the commissioners meeting that time that there was a kind of a trust issue and communications issue, but everyone was going to kind of work on it. What exactly does he mean by that, and how are you guys planning on improving that?
Well, I'm a firm believer in the easiest way to trust somebody is never to have to. We like to say full disclosure or transparency. You hear those words thrown around. Just give everybody the information. That way they can make their own informed decision. What we don't need is to have, little committees that may have two commissioners or two members of the court on there and then everybody else sitting around wondering what they're talking about. One thing we need to work towards is doing these budget, like we did the budget workshops. Halfway through the process, we just abandoned the whole budget committee. Nobody was happy with that. So, we'll go to a budget workshop. Next year, one thing I'd like to see done is that, each meeting, we'll each time we do a budget workshop, we'll create a list of things that we're directing the auditor to do or to change. We need to be using the program that we create the budget with. We'll just put that on a overhead projector, shoot that right on the wall. We could make live changes right there, change everything. That way everybody knows when they walk away from the table what got done that day.
It's interesting. I mean, you make a couple of good points there. How does the average taxpayer in Lubbock County understand the budget process? I mean, what's available to him or her to learn how you guys budget the monies and where they go?
Well, they can always give me a call. I'm more than happy to sit down and go over it with anyone so they understand. And it's a little bit different process than, how we would, how we all run our own businesses. I mean, you might sit down, look at a profit and loss statement, and then that's how you make your projections for what you want to do for the next year. Whereas here, you sit down, you look at everything that the county's going to need, and then determine what a tax rate's going to look like that way. And, they figure it up and sit there and go, okay, no, that's too high, or that goes above the effective rate. Okay, we need to go back and look at this. And my goal is that to where we're always going through the budget, we're trying to get the effective tax rate each year. Now the day is going to come, when we have to add on to the jail, or there's something that's going to come up that we'll present to our voter and say, hey, it costs what it costs. Do you want to do this or not? And that's the direction I think we need to go with. Just going forward, just open and up front and honest with everyone as possible. Because at the end of the day, it's your tax dollars that that we're up here making decisions about. So, let people vote, let them look at it. And the Lubbock County voter's not stupid. When it was time to build the jail, the one we had was built in the 30s. It was beyond capacity. The previous commissioner's court then and the sheriff's office went to the voter and said, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we need to do about it. This is what it's going to cost you. And it passed by 80%. I mean, when it comes time to spend money, we just need to make sure that everybody's fully informed and understands exactly what they're getting.
Well, it sounds like a lot of common sense. I was talking to some people the other day in Austin, and your name and C's name came up, and I said, for better or worse, and I don't think these guys set out to do this, but you and Chad have successfully raised not the profile of yourselves exactly, but the profile of what county commissioners can do and can't do, and what they do well and what they don't do well, and what these processes are. Because up until you guys made a point of this whole effective tax rate thing and holding out on the vote, I don't think anybody particularly knew exactly what was going on at this point in the budget process. And I think you saw, some folks over in Harris County, I think, and a couple of other places doing the same thing. So, I mean, I've got to hand it to you, and I don't think you set out to do that. But like I said, for better or worse, I think you kind of, promoted the whole thing, and I think that's a positive. I really do.
Well, and that was never the intent, and that wasn't why we did it in the first place. But I mean, it's going to be an unintended positive consequence. I hope it raised the bar on conservatives to say that you can't just sit there lose and get a higher tax rate and say, oh well, shucks, we tried. I'm hoping this points out it's not acceptable anymore. That's what needed to happen.
I'm not trying to get inside your head or anybody else's head, but what do you think I'm not speaking about anybody on the commissioner's court. I mean, just in general, though, your perception of why people think in leadership positions that always spending more money, always raising taxes is a reasonable thing to do. Because I've never met a voter in my entire life that wants that. I think people want, safe roads. They want good police. They want good infrastructure. And other than that, and they understand that they have to pay for that and there has to be taxes for that. But going above and beyond at any point in time and putting the screws to the taxpayers, these organizations like the Texas Association of Counties, TAC, and the Texas Municipal League, TML, they seem to have the exact opposite thought that you have. What's up with that?
Well, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Our founding fathers knew this in the very beginning. They said that government at its best is a necessary evil, and at its worst, an absolute tyranny. I think that speaks a lot to the nature of man. We all try to build things. The man is the most manipulative creature of his environment on the earth. The second is a beaver, and beavers have stopped up the Sabine River at one time. But that being the case, you put somebody in a position, and we naturally try to build things. So when you start looking at some of these groups, these big government groups, one, it's kind of in our nature to build stuff, but two, we have to bridle that. That's what we have to hold ourselves back on. Our nature is to build, but this is an area where we don't want that. We need to make sure that we constantly restrain government, and then we put people in office that's their goal. There's 9 times out of 10, there's a private sector solution that's a better one than what government is going to come up with, simply because we don't have a customer. The government gets its money by raising your taxes, and you don't always have to get a choice in that. So, and that being the case, we've always got to make sure that we've got those safeguards in place. And the best safeguard is electing people who don't want to raise taxes.
Tell people what you hear from TML and TAC. What kinds of things? Because I know they work with county judges and county commissioners. Tell us the kinds of things that you hear from them as far as spending and taxes are concerned. What are they promoting?
Well, just remember there's 2 parts to TAC. One side of it, I call them for legal questions all the time. Insurance, there's things like that are a good thing. The problem that you run into with TAC is when you get on the side of the where they start lobbying and start doing stuff like that. They're not always representing. They're certainly not always representing my interests. One of the things that the new commissioner training that we went to, that they were just, before HB2 had even passed, that they were just trying to beat that into our heads. It's a bad thing. Don't talk to your state reps, your state senators, everybody. They're all out to get you. They're all trying to cheat the counties and kick all the burden back onto you. And they'll never talk to you or help you with anything. And I know I stood up and questioned one of the speakers on that and said, I have the cell phone number of both of my state reps, as well as my state senator and my congressman.
Did people start to move their chairs away from you when you said that in that meeting?
Well, no, not really, because all the new guys coming in, we were all kind of looking at each other like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Several of the guys in there that came up to me and talked to me afterwards said, man, I know all these guys personally. My state reps are great. Anytime there's a problem, I pick up the phone and call them.
So it's kind of an indoctrination process that sounded like they were trying to create the narrative that the state representatives and the state senators were kind of the bad guys, and it was up to you to kind of stick up for people. against them.
Oh yeah, we need to push back against the state every chance that we got, and anything they tell you is bad. And yeah, some of this stuff is pretty ridiculous. It's kind of like, well, wait a minute, we all have to work together.
Does our tax money pay dues into TML or TAC for you guys? How does that work?
We pay $50,000 a year for membership in TAC, and it's depending on the size of the county, it goes up and down. But for that, that's where we get like the free legal counsel when you've got questions. Mm-hmm. That stuff's really helpful. There's insurance things too. I mean, how much of that goes to their lobbying efforts, I don't know. But
I got an idea how you could save $50,000.
I sure like the free legal counsel. That's been really helpful. Don't
you guys have a lawyer there at the county courthouse? I mean, doesn't the commissioners have a lawyer?
We do. We've got the civil attorney, but the problem is that, man, we throw so much stuff at that guy. It's anything and everything. You know, he's getting questions about what's going on at the ME's office all the way down to, proper procedure on the commissioner's court.
Hang on for another segment because I want to talk to you about the ME's office since you brought it up. I think something's gotten lost in translation with that whole issue. You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show. I'm Matt Crow sitting in for Chad. We'll be back right after this. Back here on the Chad Hasty Show, I'm Matt Crow sitting in for Chad. He'll be back on Monday. On the line is Commissioner Jason Corley. And Commissioner Corley, wanted to talk just briefly till we get to the end of the segment here at the bottom of the hour about the ME's office. So the FBI and the Rangers and the 7th Cavalry invaded the ME's office.
Yeah, all the ABC agencies were there, from my knowledge.
So why did they do that, and what do they hope to find, and why? What's the story basically?
My understanding was they were there to collect records, data, information that way. I have no knowledge of any arrests being made or anything like that.
So earlier, in fact, I think it was last weekend, I saw an interview with Judge Parrish about this, and he was talking about what's going to happen in the meantime. I guess Tarrant County is going to provide services. Is that right?
Okay, so try to get this in a soundbite. Okay, so right now what we've done is we contacted Tarrant County. They came in, they have a medical district there, not just their county, and they provide pathology services, basic autopsies, just for layman's words, for a lot of different counties. Ector County is one of them. So what we're going to kind of follow is kind of the Ector County model. What they've done over there is your medical examiner does not have to be a forensic pathologist. You can, anyone with an MD's license, so that can be a surgeon, a clinician, family doctor, whatever you want to use, so long as they've got a valid Texas medical license. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to go ahead and appoint a local doctor to be our medical examiner. So as these cases come in, you may have someone who died in a car wreck, and you just do an external exam because it's pretty obvious what happened there. You may now, if you had someone come in, they've got bullet holes in them. Well, it's pretty obvious that you're going to there's probably going to be a case there. So, that body would go to Tarrant County to have a full autopsy performed on it. Tarrant County will do those autopsies, and then, they will transport, bodies back and forth between the two. Also, if someone needs to testify, the pathologist that did perform the autopsy there would come to Lubbock and testify.
Okay, so what I referred to earlier, getting kind of lost in the translation, and I'm not here to pat you on the back, but correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you the first person around here that called attention to what the heck was going on over there?
Yeah, I was the first person to bring up that there were some concerns, that there have been police reports filed by employees as well as concerns from people in the community, and yeah, that was me.
Yeah, well,
I've been working on this for some time now.
It's kind of interesting because it seems like a few other people are trying to cage it that they're the ones who stumbled onto this, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse or anything, but I just found that kind of curious because this whole business with the Rangers and the district attorney and the FBI or whoever get involved in this stuff. I mean, you were the guy that kind of poked your head up and said something's wrong over there in the first place. The next thing I knew, there was a lady very upset about a member of her family. I think it was an infant that had passed and had been disassembled and shipped to various places around the country without her consent.
Well, just to give you a timeline, I was contacted by a funeral home director that I know that had said, hey, this is before I was even in office, and said, you've got 3 neighbors here that can't get a death certificate. I know you're not in office yet, but I need your help now. And that's when I found out about at the time 180 death certificates that had not been filled out. So that's when it became time to, okay, we've got a problem here. We need to get this sorted out. And that was back in August of last year. Yeah, August of 18. So, yeah, I've been working on it for a while, and that was before I was even in office. But there's just been little things along the way, and all I've done is just ask the questions that I'm supposed to be asking. Is when we found out we didn't have their insurance, the NAAG's insurance on file. Well, wait a minute, hold on. There's a problem there. We got a copy of it, and then it had been completely redacted, where you couldn't verify that that we had insurance. Just little problems like this along the way, but. Say that there's many more scrutiny on
weren't there people telling you, though, to lay low and forget about it? Am I imagining that? Didn't I hear that some people are telling you just to mind your own business and kind of try to put you off to it?
It was recommended to me just to leave that one alone, but I don't do that real well.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, if it's a problem, this is the public sector. I mean, if it's a problem, it's everybody's problem because it's your tax dollars.
I think it really, though, I think it hit a chord with everybody in town. It's particularly this lady, in tears on television talking about the little one that was, for lack of a better term, like I said, disassembled. I don't want to get too graphic, but I mean, without anybody's knowledge, without any permission, without the family's knowledge. I mean, that's. Is it insulting, or I don't know what the term is. It's shocking, but kind of cuts, everybody to the core as far as, just being respectful of the dead, for heaven's sakes, and respectful of people's feelings and family. But I don't know. I think you did a great job. I'd be interested to see what you do for an encore. And along those lines, what's the county commissioner's agenda now for, say, to the end of the year? What are you guys going to be looking at?
Oh man, we've just got to get moving on the expo center. That's the main. That's what we got left. We got you the effective tax rate. We're getting our medical examiner's office sorted out. We'll have us a new ME in here shortly, and just rebuild that process. Also, one of the things I've been in communication with several different medical examiners across the state, and just like, how do we do this right? Lubbock, we've had problems with our medical examiner's office. It's something that it's like whack-a-mole. It pops up, every 10 years, and then we're having to do this, and then you got a new bunch in the commissioner's court, and when's the last time we had this problem? Well, a decade ago.
Hey, Commissioner,
we've got a way to build it right.
We've got a minute left. Give us what is going on with the Expo Center? That seems to have dived down to the bottom. I don't see any air bubbles coming to the top. What's new with that?
Well, right now,
real quick, because we're going to go.
We're looking at the construction phase, just figuring out exactly what we're going to build. We're trying to get some numbers in to see how much tax money there's going to be to build there.
Gotcha. You got to get the money. You got to get your hands on the money first.
Right.
I get it. Okay.
Don't know what you build till you got the money.
All right. Well, we'll circle back to you in a couple of weeks and get an update. I know Chad will want to do that. And thanks for being on this morning. As Commissioner Jason Corley, he's got a Facebook page. Go visit if you want to get a hold of him.